I was in school in junior high through high school when integration was pulled into the public schools in Louisiana.
Mm.
So in junior high, I went to the school that was formerly the black high school.
Mm-hmm.
So you had all these white people coming over and integrating in
For you.
to this school. And I think I was there for 2 years. There were a number of, let's call them race riots, walking around school and getting hit and stuff. Like there was this constant tension.
You got hit.
Hmm. Yeah. You had to constantly be aware of where you were and what you were doing.
Who'd you get hit by?
What I'm referring to is black boys that were, like there was this tension among the races.
The black boys didn't want you going to their school.
I can't speak for them,
Yeah.
but I imagine there was probably a lot of reasons why they weren't real happy about what was going on.
What was that like? So you were there when they started integrating the
That's
schools.
right.
So white kids and black kids would go to school together.
Yeah. It was, I didn't have anything to compare it to, but it was, there was, I think, always some anxiety for people, feeling like not totally safe all
You
the
felt
time.
a lot of anxiety and
Yeah.
not being safe in school.
I'm sure it was there. Yeah. Yeah. The bigger part came when I actually went to high school. So then I went to high school. When my brother went to this high school, it was like 90+% white, and then some more blacks, and mostly blacks were the other part.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I graduated, it was 30% white and 70% black.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that shift, right? Like it was total cultural change.
Yeah.
And during that time, so many whites went to the Catholic schools. Their parents pulled them out of the school, and they created these new schools that only white kids would go to. Like it was just blatant racial conflict and racial segregation and like pushback to the integration.
I could see. Yeah, so the white families that were racist or didn't want their kids
Are typical
educated.
Typical down there. Yeah, it was very
They
common.
moved their kids out of the public schools.
That's right.
And found schools that could be white only.
That's right. And so there was a lot of teachers that left the public school. Like it was a change, constant change. So a few things that were impactful for me is I've always been someone with a foot in lots of different bucket communities,
Mm-hmm.
but not just in one. Like there's different parts of me. I like to connect with lots of different kinds of people, which is great, but it also, nobody fully embraces you, right? Because,
You're a chameleon, a social
that's
chameleon.
right. I'm not really fully safe either, right? So part of me was in the National Honor Society. I was in the Thespian Society. I was in the sports teams. I remember getting in a car and my friend passing me a joint, and the other two guys looked at each other and said, "Is he cool?" Like, because I was like had a reputation as being a good student,
Mm-hmm.
but could I also be cool enough to be smoking weed in the back of
Yeah.
there was always, can you trust David to be a good member of this group?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually dated a young woman who was black a few times. And then she pulled me aside and said, "David, we can't do this anymore." I said, "Why not? We're having fun. We're fun, right?" Yeah. But I've had a couple of guys approach me and they said, "If we see you with David again, we're just going to kick his ass." So there was this racial dynamic happening that was like, yeah,
Gosh.
there's all this stuff going on. And so so I played basketball, and as I said, when my brother went to school, it was almost all whites on the team. When my senior year, I was the only white on the starting team.
Of course, the black people played better sports.
Well, they were good
They
at
just crushed
basketball,
it, yeah.
but this was true with all the schools around there.
Yeah.
This is kind of funny. So I was often the only white guy on the court.
Shane Gillis has this skit. He's a
Yeah.
comedian.
Yeah.
He's got this skit where he's at one of these schools as they're integrating.
Okay.
And at the beginning, they're like, we're just going to take our boys out there and keep the white team whole team. And they went out and just got crushed by all the other teams
Oh,
where they
right.
integrated. And
Right.
at the end, they're like, well, we're gonna integrate. And the
Aha.
thing that comes up for me in this is how the adults in our culture are creating turmoil for children to deal with. Like integrating schools, and now you have race riots in schools and teachers and all this tension and conflict, and yet it needs to occur. There needs to be
Yeah.
connection. Like you're a connector. There needs to be networking and social integration. We need to all,
I agree. I
but
believe that.
I would ask the question, have we done it? I'll say from my perspective, I don't have many black friends. I don't have many friends of other races.
Yes.
While we might have integrated schools,
Yes.
I still, and I don't know why.
Yes.
Like, it's not like I wake up in the morning and say, I'm only going to hang out with white people.
Yes.
I'm not going to be in black communities. But it seems like we've, from my observation, kind of stayed in our
Yeah.
little groups.
Yeah.
While we're going to school together. Even in schools, there's divisions that are social and unspoken.
Yeah.
Except for maybe when they come together for the photo club. But
You
even
might
in the
be
photo
mixed
club,
in the classroom, you're mixed, but in the cafeteria, you can see the separation.
or in your mind,
Yeah.
the networks. And this is just me.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is everybody else.
Yeah.
And part of me feels scared to share it because it's some like evidence of my racism.
Yeah. Yeah. I think without naming it, we're not going to change anything.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a lot that's just a part of it is cultural and a part of it is wiring, and it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the least we can do is say, I'd like to be open to a diverse set of friends and be actually open to it.
Yeah, your tone in your voice has changed some. The volume's gone down a little bit. I think there's a seriousness with this topic
Absolutely.
that changes.
It matters a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It matters to me too.
Could I share just a little bit more about this? Do we have time?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time do you need?
This is about my high school experience.
Oh, absolutely.
And it
yeah.
touches on this issue of racism.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a little bit, so here I am, the only white guy on the court, right? You got this mixed crowd of people, but on the court, it's all black guys playing. And there's David, right?
Mm-hmm.
David was a pretty good basketball player. If he hadn't gotten injured, he probably would have played small college basketball. I got injured after my senior year, but so imagine you go out on the court and you get the ball and you score on this guy who's guarding you, and then you do it again, and maybe you do it a third time. It was so predictable. The guys on the benches of the other team saying, "Stop that honky from doing that," right?
Yeah.
And it was just like the guys guarding me had all this pressure on them to do whatever they had to do to stop me.
Because it wasn't just basketball. It was a race war out there.
Absolutely. It was like shaming him for letting this white dude do this
Best
to him. That's right. It's a lot at stake, right?
Goodness.
Yeah. And so very predictable over the course of the year, maybe there was 15 games. I swear to you, at least 12 of the games, I got into a pushing match where, I'd shoot and they would just hack the hell out of me. And I was forced, or they'd push me, and the referees were a little shy about calling it. So there's this pushing going on. So I'm having to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And at least 12 of the games, I was involved in a pushing match, or like like where I had to guard someone else or something. We had to deal, and this was happening, right? It was like everyone knew it was happening. End of the year, the sports banquet. Guess who got Sportsman of the Year?
You did.
I did, which I think is hilarious.
Because you endured that.
I guess that was the reason, but at the same time, I was involved in all these altercations, and there
Would
was,
you fight with physically? Would you
well,
throw fists?
I don't think I ever swung at a person.
That's why you got the sportsman award.
Maybe. I definitely did push people. I definitely got involved in that. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just how weird that situation was. Just the weirdness of it. Okay. The second thing I wanted to share was that at the end of the year, at the in football, the senior year, the homecoming football game, halftime, they had the band, and then they had the homecoming king and queen walk across the field. So I was the student council president. I had my foot in everything, right? And I walked across the field with Myra Burrell, 6'1", black girl, afro like this, beautiful young girl. We weren't, we were friends.
Mm-hmm.
We walk across the field, black woman, white man in front of this crowd. Uh, it was uh, it was both terrifying and one of the happiest moments of my life.
Mm.
Yeah. I could just feel like there was like this significant thing was happening, that had never happened before. Yeah. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to share was I think I was in either 10th or 11th grade. All this integration was happening in high school, and there's all this stuff happening, right? And my parents set me down one evening and they said, David, we know how hard it is going to school with all the tension and things going on. And then they said that we know it's really hard on you, and they're like, and we really want you to learn how to get along with all kinds of people. And we know it's really hard, and we'll be here for you, but we want you to stay in school and figure this out. And I just want to say, like, my dad, I knew this. My dad was from Selma, Alabama. If you know where Selma
Yeah.
is,
That's where the beginning of the march
that's
Martin
right.
Luther
It's where
King did. He started in
where
Selma.
the bridge with all the
Mm-hmm.
dogs and the fire hoses
Yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah.
And I had experience at this point going there and experiencing and seeing the racism that was there. And Arkansas, same thing. Like, I knew that my parents came from a very racist environment, and here we are in the backlash to this integration, and my parents are like, no, we're with you. We want to see all this change happen, and we're with you. We're not going to support you running away from it. And I don't know if I've ever felt more love from them than I felt in that moment. It was just like there's a part of me that's like, oh, rescue me. But there was this big part of me that's like, holy moly, they love me. They want me to be safe. And yet they love me enough to say, you can do it. You can do this. This is important.
Yeah. I think of a piece of coal enduring tremendous pressure over time, turning into a diamond.
I don't know, but it was super impactful for me. Yeah.
Your folks were your folks racist?
No, no, is what I'm saying is that they had every opportunity to display racism, and I don't remember them ever doing anything that I've like overtly. I'm sure they did some subconscious stuff, right? But no,
They believed and supported integration.
absolutely. And I still to this day I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen?
What do you mean?
Like, given where they came from,
Oh
how
yeah.
did they turn out to be that way? I don't know.
You don't have any. Does your dad share anything about that?
We've
Is he?
talked about it. It's just how they were. They just like, we always felt like treating everyone the same was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Seems so easy.
okay.
Treating everybody
Not,
with love and kindness and compassion
yeah.
and empathy.
If, yeah. If, yeah, if you, it wasn't until later that I went back home and I had more awareness about systemic racism that I actually saw just how much racism was ingrained in southern Louisiana, the working world, the schools, everything. It was just like it was like a veil, like in you're in it, you don't see it. But
I think it was spanned further than southern Louisiana.
oh
You
yeah,
got
yeah.
Mississippi, Alabama,
Oh, big time.
Georgia.
But I did not know about it that even though I was in it, like I couldn't date this girl because of this going on, all the fights, all the everything, like I still did not really get it. It was interesting.
That had to have changed you and really influenced you. It seems like your parents wanted you to find the gifts in the
Mm-hmm.
tension, the
Mm-hmm.
gifts in interacting with a lot of different types of people.
Yeah,
It seems like you wanted that too. You had your
I
foot
did.
in all the
I
different
did. Yeah.
groups
Yeah.
and also playing sports
Yeah.
with folks, the black folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always really enjoyed meeting people from other places, and yeah, definitely.